And even if I go ahead and click this user, I don't think it's going to return. I'm kind of remembering two things that I forgot to do. The first one has to do with going over to the config and clicking on the broadcasting.php file. I have to change this from null. So this is usually null, change it to pusher. And secondly, I want to bring in implement the should broadcast on our events. So click on events, and right here I have to implement should broadcast. I think that should solve it. Yeah, we have interact with sockets and also serialized models. So let me just go ahead and try to refresh, and let me click on this again. Maybe do a couple of hard refresh. We actually get a connection, and definitely this time around we should get something. We should be able to get something emitted back to us. And nothing is going to be returned because there are still some couple other things I still forgot to do. So first of all, we have to go over to the .env file, and I have to change this from log to pusher. So we have to change the broadcast driver, and lastly we have to go over to the config file, click on the app, and then we can uncomment the Laravel broadcast service over here. So just go ahead and save that. And this time around, let me just go ahead and click, and you can see automatically we get a emitted response back. You can see the sender email and also the receiver email. And the next thing I'm going to do is to go over to the right component, and on top of here we just have to add the message mutation. So let's add that for now. So let me just spell things correctly, and I'm going to import from, we do have to import from Apollo clients. So just go ahead and hit that, and you can import the use mutation as well as the GQL. We also have to import from the React Redux. So we have to import the use selector as well as the use dispatch. And we also have to import some components. Let me just comment this as components. So guys, my typing may be a little bit slow. It's just because of the winter. So I have to import header from inbox/header, and we are going to create that inbox folder ASAP so that we don't delay. I'm going to create a folder here called let me just do it this way. Let's create it at the chat folder rather than inside the container. So we can create a folder here called inbox. Okay, we already do have that, which is best for us. And now we can import two more files, and the second one is inbox chats, and the last one is inbox input. So we also have the inbox chat file and as well the inbox inputs file. So if definitely is going to give us an error. So let me just comment it out for the meantime. And then we can create our mutation. Before we do that, one more time, let's import types. So we can import from our actions. Hopefully I'm in the right place, and then we have the actions/types, and the couple of actions we have to import. The first one is, let me scroll a little bit up. We have store chat message. We also have store chat messages, and last one we have reset message loading. Yeah, not reset chat message. So we are going to create our mutation to bring in the send message mutation. So I'm going to export, let's just export this in case we are going to need it in another component. So it's called Message Mutation, which is going to use the GQL. And we're gonna break this down first, and then we put in our mutation, which is going to accept some couple of arguments. So we have the text message, which is a type of string, which is mandatory that we have it. Let me just break this down. Then we have the sender email, which is as well mandatory, a type of string. Then we have also the receiver. We have the receiver email, which is as well a string. And then I think these are the three things we need for now. Then inside here, whenever we want to send a message to a user, we actually need the send message mutation. So we have the send message. So whenever we are sending a message, we are going to return only the text message. But inside here, we have to pass the text message, which is the text message. We have to pass the sender email, which is the sender email, and as well we have to pass the receiver email, which is the receiver email. And inside the use effect, I'm just going to come here. I want to make sure that the messages that we grabbed is greater than 0. So this is the length is greater than 0. And so right here you can see I'm grabbing the messages from the load P2P. In case you do have an error, please do come back here and change this to broadcast with. So this might be H on yours, so make sure you put that, and we will have access to this exactly. So first of all, I just want to get the clicked user from local storage. So that clicked user, we assume that clicked user to be its sender, but let me just call that clicked user, and I'm going to go to the local storage and get the item, and we have clicked user email. Then secondly, I want to get all the messages when this user is the current receiver, and also the sender is the clicked user. So let's just do it this way. Get all messages when this user is sender, and then we have clicked user email. Our clicked user is the receiver. So the way we are going to do that is very simple. So let's just call this sender messages. I think that would be the best. Let me scroll a little bit up. So I have the messages.filter. So from here, I just want to destructure two things, and then we have a callback. So what I want to grab here is the sender email and also the receiver email. So in the callback, we have to perform two true operations, and so the first one is if this user dot email is equal to the sender email, and we have the clicked user email is equal to receiver email. So that's good. I'm just going to quickly copy this. I don't want to repeat a lot of things, so we can just copy this and paste it down. So right here, we want to get all messages when this user is the receiver and the clicked user is the sender. So we have sender. So this makes it possible that we can just change this to clicked user email, and then we can put this this user dot email. So remember that this user is coming from the right component, because if you check right here, I think in the inbox component right here, you can see we are passing this user to the right component. So that's where it came from. And then we have to join both messages, and then we can sort it with the sent at. So we have joined messages is equal to, so we can we have to change this to received messages, not sender messages as well. So we have received messages, so we can say received messages dot concate. So we have to concate the sender messages. Then I can say if the join messages dot length, because in some case two users might not readily have a message, so it's going to return an empty array value or an array with empty elements. Then right here, if it is greater than 0, we just simply want to sort it with the time, and the way we do that is to loop through the join message with the sort. So we have X and Y. Sorry for that, guys. This is a callback. So with the X and Y, and then inside this callback, I just want to return because the sent at is just alphabetical, not it's not a numeric number. So what I'm gonna do is to use the number and change it. So we have x.sent at minus y. We have number y.sent at. So this is going to arrange it for us. So let me format that and make sure it's neat. And then we can now dispatch the join messages. So we can dispatch, we don't actually have dispatched here, I think. So we have a type of store chat messages, and then we have a payload, and inside this payload we are just passing the joined messages. And I think I did something wrong here. So this is a curly brace, and this one is supposed to be out. And lastly, once we join the messages and dispatch it to our store, we just have to stop the message loading. So we have to dispatch a type of reset message loading. So that's, we have reset message loading. So we can still go ahead and console.log this out, and let's just see how the data does look like. So we have join messages. So when we click on each of those users, we should actually return a message where the two users actually did chat. So we are just going to quickly refresh, and it's telling us that we don't have dispatch, and let's go ahead and do that quickly. And dispatch, you can just bring it in, which is going to use dispatch. So let's make sure it's imported, and at the top as well it is imported. So right away you can see when I clicked on user 1 and user 2, user 1 and user 2 do have a message. So right here in this case, user 1 was the sender and also user 2 was the receiver. And you can see the message has sorted perfectly. Look at, you can see when this one was sent and also when this one was sent. So when I click on user 1 and user 3, you see they have empty message. User 1 and user 4, they do also have an empty message. And the next thing I'm going to do is to create the necessary files inside this inbox folder. And the first one is chats.js. The second one is header.js. The third one is inbox chats.js. And the last one is inbox input.js. And let's just go ahead and add all the default boilerplate necessary for each of them. Just type it and hit enter. And right now, if you check inside our app, you can see that right here we don't have anything, but I want a scenario whereby if we click on a user and we do have a clicked user email in our database, then definitely we want to display this section. If not, we don't want to display anything. So I'm just going to come over here and let's just give this a class of chat, right? And right here we can say if we do have a clicked user email, so let's just make sure that's imported perfectly. So we can import that at the top here. Actually, we can also do something like this. It doesn't there's nothing bad with it. You can also do something like this and just use one clicked user email, which is very, very good for you. And down here, we can definitely say if we have a clicked user email, which we're going to have, then do this, or else it's going to return null for now. And so right away, what we want to do right now is to add a div with a class name of chat inbox wrapper. So we have a div here, and inside here we're gonna have the header. So this header is going to be coming from the header that we just created. So let me just add that and import that manually. And let's scroll up and you can see we've already added those. We can uncomment that. Just hold Control and hover over it to make sure it's imported perfectly. And that's nice. So we have that header there. So let's go and work on the header and let's click on it. And inside here, we're gonna import from React. Sorry, we already have React there, so we just have to import the use effect. And I'm also going to bring in from the React Redux. I want to bring in the we have React Redux. I want to bring in the use selector. So this is going to help us to actually set the name of the user we just clicked, and we can display it at the top there. And right here, this is header, not a div. But before anything else, first, we want to get something from our reducer, from our store. So we want to grab that from state.user. So most of these, we've not even actually set the values, but we're going to do that shortly. So right here, we want to watch out for clicked user email and also and other users. So this is curly braces, not block braces. Then we have to bring out a use state here, which is going to help us to set the name of the user we just clicked. So right here we have username to chat and set user name to chat. So we have the use effect, which is going to work with a dependency of clicked user email. So whenever we have the clicked user email, it's going to automatically update that, and then we're going to have a callback. Then inside this callback, I want to check if other users.length is greater than 0 if we have other users present. So we want to grab some things from other users, and I want to filter that with the user that we just clicked. So let's say when we click a user, we have to look through other users, and we want to get each of their email address, and we can say if the email is equal to the clicked user, then we now have access to the details of that particular user from other users. So we can have access to the name, email, username. But for now, let's just take the username. I think it's best. Then right here we can set username to chat. So we can just set the username, and we can scroll down to the header. I'm going to add an ID of inbox header. Then right here we have to put down that username. So we can say if we have a username to chat, we want to return the username to chat, or else we want to just return the name of our application that we are working on, which is Laravel GraphQL. We have Laravel GraphQL Instagram chat. So we can just close that and let's go ahead and refresh. So right now we just got it, we are just done with the refresh and we are getting something like the women class name. Probably that should be coming from this component. This is class name, not. So let's go back and give it a one more time refresh to see how it does look like. So whenever you go ahead and click on this user, you can see automatically we get all the users from the store and then just extract the username of that particular user that we just clicked. So you can see we have user 2, user 4, user 3, and the CSS is not actually supposed to be showing this way, but for some reason I don't know. And if you can recall, whenever we click on a user, we are supposed to see something like a little loading icon here, and that's going to be coming from the left component. And whenever we clicked on grab clicked user, we ought to dispatch something. So what we wanted to dispatch was message loading, but by default it's actually true. It's actually true, and I don't think we have to work on that. But let's just quickly check on our reducer and our chat reducer or on our user reducer. So we have user clicked. Okay. I wanted to dispatch an action that can trigger the message loading, but in user clicked, you can see we already have that. And also inside our component, inside our left component, we already dispatch user clicked. So we already have message loading. So let me just take this here. And once the message is gotten from our event, we auto reset that message loading. So right here we did reset that, so you can see it's working perfectly. So whenever we receive messages, it's going to reset that message loading, so making it safe that we can actually use that and perform some operations. So that's gonna be with a class name of chat inbox, and inside this chat inbox we have to check if message loading is false. If it is false, we want to display some things. So let me just add null here and add null here as well. So I want to first of all work on a scenario whereby we don't have anything to display, or let's just add a spinner. Whenever we don't have a message yet, we want to use a spinner, and I just want to close this, and I'm going to make the size of this spinner to be 5. I can quickly import spinner from React Strap. So we can just quickly import from React Strap. So we can bring in the spinner. And let's go down again. And I'm going to wrap this on a div with a I wanted to give it a style, but I think I never added a style there. But let's just add an inline style. We're going to have a margin of auto in order to center it. And then I'm going to have a padding of 20 pixel top and also 20% top and 20% left and right. So we have 20% top and bottom and 20 pixel left and right. So let's just go ahead and refresh. And it says message loading is not defined, and let's just bring that from our store. So right here I can just use the structuring and bring in the message loading, and I want to bring in the message loading from the use selector state.user. So we can just go ahead and refresh. Just coming back here and refresh one more time, and let's see if that fixes it. So right now you can see until the messages are being gotten, this is not supposed to go out, but by now I think, okay, when we click on this, I think it should still there. So this is supposed to be showing this way until we can go over to the reducer and check. Okay, right now we don't have a case of reset message loading, so we have to bring in reset message loading. So this case is going to return from our state, which is going to return the message loading, and we just want to set that to false. and I think you should solve it because that's just a minor thing. So whenever the application loads, let me click on a user. You see right now when we click on a user, we get that out. So this time around, I want to handle a case whereby we have a message loading, and I mean whenever it is true. And right here, I'm just going to bring in a fragment. So we do have this React fragment, and just bring that down. And inside here, I want to bring in two components. So we have the inbox charts, and as well we do have the inbox inputs. So these are the two components that we're going to need here. So these two components are going to accept some params that we're going to pass down in this component. So for the inbox chart, we are just passing down the current user. While for the inbox, we have to pass in we're going to pass in set a text message. So let's just say, okay, let me just do it this way, and that will be best if we go over to this component, and right here you can pass in the set text message as well as on submit. So this is going to contain our form, and I can just come here and type down set text message, and as well as on submit. So guys, you can quickly go ahead and create a component called no chat screen, and create that component anywhere in any folder. So I just created mine on the chat folder. So right here you can see it. It's just a dummy screen that displays whenever we've not yet clicked on a user. So it's exactly what you're seeing right here, and if you click on the readme file, you're gonna get that. I just removed this null that we have on the right component. So there was a null value here. Just go ahead and change that to right component, to the no chat screen, I mean. And back in that inbox charts. So before we begin working on inbox charts once more, let's come over to our store, go over to chat reducer, and add an array of chat messages here. So it's just gonna be an array of a message, and right here I'm just gonna grab that chat messages using the use selector. You can just bring that in. Then from the state we have state.chat. Secondly, whenever we click on a user to chat the user, we want to scroll all messages, and we want to start from the bottom. So we are going to do that with a ref. So we are going to call it message ref, which is going to use ref as well. And that's to use that, we can use the effect, something like component did mount, and the use effect is going to watch on chat messages, and whenever the chat messages is greater than the length is greater than 0, we just want to use the message ref dot current dot scroll top equals to the message ref dot current dot scroll height. So this will help us to scroll it to the bottom automatically without delay. And we have to add an if statement over there. So this is if. So let me just format this perfectly. So let's scroll a little bit down, and inside here we're gonna add a class name called inbox charts, and we're gonna add a ref. I think I did a mistake here. So this is inbox charts, and then we have the ref of message ref. I want to watch out for when the message is greater than 0 as well. So if it is greater than 0, we have to perform some operation here, or else nothing. We just want to display the messages. So we have to look through the message, or we can, okay, let's just look through the message. That will be the best. So we can say chat messages dot map. So with the help of map, we can just return a value as well. So right here we can use structuring and pull out the messages the text message, the ID of the message, and also who is receiving the message, which is the current user receiving the message. So we have the receiver email. And here I want to return a div, which is going to have a key of ID. So let me just give this a little inline style. So we have to display a flex. We have justify content to, for now, let me just use flex end. But the way we use this justify content is if the receiver email is the sender, we want to either place it to the left or to the right. And lastly, we can use margin, which is 10 pixels top and bottom and 0 pixels left and right. And right here, I just want to display that text message. So let me save, and if we do come out here and refresh, so let me say we just got refreshed. I don't know why my GraphQL sometimes terminates, but I don't have an error in GraphQL, so that's probably coming from my laptop, or maybe from, I don't know why it's doing that. So let me just do a hard refresh. It's working fine here, but I don't know what the problem is on the client side. Okay, this time around it worked. So I'm just gonna click on the message on the user, and you can see we actually made a mistake somewhere around here. That's a capital F, like a constant that's not assigned. So let me refresh once more. So I don't know why the message loading is still true. By default, it's supposed to be false, but we're gonna fix that. So right here, when I click on a user, it's gonna get rid of that message loading, and you can see we are not getting any messages yet. So why we are not getting any messages yet is very, very simple. If you check in the right component right here, we constructed both the messages that we sent and the one that we received, and we dispatched it to store chat messages. So to handle that, we have to use the chat reducer. I'm going to click on chat reducer. I'm going to handle 2 cases and also one more case. And that's going to be the first case is going to be when we store chat messages. The second case is going to be when we store a single message, a single chat message, like when we send a single message. And the last one is going to be when we reset user clicked. So reset user clicked is something that will help us to get rid of that message loading. So we have to return, for this one, we have to return chat message as an empty array. Okay, sorry guys, that's not for the message loading. So this is basically that whenever we click on a new user, we just have to reset this chat message, then we go ahead and load a new message. Then for store chat message, it's just very simple as well. We just want to loop through the states, spread the state, get the chat messages, and inside here, I just want to spread all the messages, but we just want to spread in the objects. Or we can still go ahead and pass the payload directly, but you don't have a problem. Then one more thing is when we do send a message to another user, we want to store that current message in our own state. So we want to push that message into our chat messages, so which is going to first of all spread in all the messages that we have. Then we can now pass the payload, which is not bad. So this time around, let's go ahead and refresh. So on a refresh and on a click on a user, so when we are done loading messages, we definitely ought to get, yeah, we are getting the messages, which shows us that it's working perfectly. So we ought not to get a message, we ought not to get the same type of messages for each user that we clicked. So one little way you can fix that is to come over to your right component, and you can actually rename this to another constant, but I just added one right here. So I just added a 1 here and also a 1 here. So that's just to get the clicked user that is stored, so that this one can as well perform its own operation independently. But I don't think that should have been an issue, but sometimes you just have to keep things a little bit complicated in order not to run into a problem. So that makes it possible that whenever user 1 clicks on user 2, the conversation between user 1 and user 2 just displays. And also whenever I click on user 4, I do not have a single chat. You actually see we now have an empty message. So let me say I want to send to user 4 as a user 1. So I can say user 4 hello. So let me say send that, and we send that to the database. And let's say I click on user 4, I ought to get hello user 4. So user 3 still remains user 3 with user 3 messages. So this was just me testing it out, telling user 3 to get out, and as well user 2. I think I'm kind of really cool with user 2. I don't have a problem with user 2. So user 3, it was a problem. I have to tell user 3 to get out. One more thing I also did was that whenever we click on a user, I want to always close a channel. Before we reopen that channel, I uncommented this line of code from our grab clicked user. So just go ahead and uncomment that. That kind of help us to like disconnect any active connection so that we can have a fresh reconnection that is not going to be buggy. I'm going to create one more component called chat inside the inbox folder.